Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Simran Malik. I'm in grade 8 and go to Georges P. Vanier. My project is called Guess That Color, the Stroop Effect. The purpose of this experiment was to see how noticeable is the time reaction delay due to the Stroop Effect and how does your brain recognize it. The test conducted will see the difference in the time it takes for a person to correctly recognize the ink color of a word instead of reading the word itself. The behavior of the human being is based on the stimulus-response relationship. The environmental sensory information is encoded and evaluated by the brain, and an appropriate response is put into action via the muscular system. Here, the brain is faced with the problem of deciding the appropriate action to be taken in response to a certain stimulus. The problem arises from the fact that the information processing system functions in a sequential manner, that is, each stage must be completed before the next. Another aspect of the stimulus-response chain is the relation between the intentional and automatic process. Intention can be defined as a determination to act in a certain way. Automatic, on the other hand, is a process that can be carried out rapidly and without effort or intention. Most of the time in everyday life, these two processes complement each other with no issue. But when intentional and automatic processes contradict each other, errors in the reaction to a specific stimulus may arise. When the brain encounters two stimuli contradicting with each other and is obligated to make a choice between them, there will be slowing down in the reaction time because the intentional reaction must first overcome the automatic reaction in order to give the correct response. Stroop effect is the delay in reaction time between congruent and incongruent stimuli. Congruence is matching of experience and awareness, or you can say on automatic mode. Incongruence is having feeling not aligned with your actions, or you can say intentional mode. I hypothesize that when a word written is the same as its ink color will be recognized and read easier and faster than a color written differently than its ink color. I use the following material listed here. The independent variable is the congruency of the font name and color. Dependent variable is the reaction time in reporting the letter color. So the procedure I used to conduct this experiment was to make 2 pages of color words that were used for this project. Page 1 had color words printed in matching color ink, and page 2 had color words printed in different color ink. They both had 20 sequence of 5 color words. I then printed the pages on cardstock for sturdiness and cut them into horizontal strips. I put these 2 sets in separate envelopes. Volunteers were given the 2 envelopes and asked to call out the ink color of each word as quickly as possible without making a mistake, 1 set at a time. Time how long it takes for the volunteer to call out each set and record the data. I repeated steps 4 and 5, calling out the set and recording the data with each volunteer, but for half of the volunteers, I reversed the order and used a set with the non-matching words first. I then calculated the time difference between the 2 sets for each volunteer and calculated the average difference between the sets. I made a graph to illustrate my results and analyze the data to come to a conclusion. These are the 2 sets I used. I found out after running the experiment with 20 volunteers that it could be clearly seen that there was an increase in time spent to say the font color when the word written and the font color differed. The average difference between set 1 and set 2 was 68.05 seconds. The volunteers used were of all ages and across gender. In conclusion, my hypothesis was correct that when the color written is the same as its ink color, it will be read easier and faster than a color written differently than its ink color. As mentioned earlier, this effect is based on the Stroop effect. In the experiment, the intentional reaction was to say the color of the ink, but since people's automatic reaction is to read the word, the volunteer is confronted with a dilemma of choosing between perception of color and reading the word. In short, the color and word interferes with each other, leading to a conflict at the response stage, making your brain work harder, having to differentiate between automatic response and intentional response. Therefore, it increased in reaction time. General real-life applications for the Stroop effect include advertisement and presentation. People who make billboard or magazine ads, etc., have to be very careful about the color and the font their text is printed in. The effect implies that the word is more important to the average person than the color. One method of marketing the use of the Stroop effect is attachment of a direct and powerful word like revolutionary to what in reality is a fairly minor change in a product. The point is to exaggerate the change and focus the viewer's attention on the word. Stroop effect is also utilized to investigate various psychiatric and neurological disorders. The adaptability of the Stroop task lends itself to be useful in a wide variety of fields within psychology and equally effective in various culture and ethnic groups. To do further studies, variations to the experiment can be to use uncommon color names such as lavender or chartreuse. Will it make a difference? How about gender, age, or a child who cannot read versus a child who can read? Or turn the word upside down. Does this change the result? Aside from the color, we can measure interference between picture and word, direction and word, digit and numerosity, central versus peripheral letter identification. With easy adaptability on various platforms and conditions, applications and experiments of Stroop effect is virtually limited by only imagination. Jazakallah for your time. Assalamu alaikum.